Hello everyone, welcome along to today's webinar. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to join me today. This week we are going to talk about professionalism in EFL. It'll be a really important topic, especially for all of you starting out in your teaching career. Before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Mairead and I am in the west of Ireland, and I've been teaching now for over 20 years. Okay, so hopefully I'll have lots of information to share with you about your first steps into the world of TEFL. Okay, let's begin. We have a lot to cover in today's webinar. We're going to touch on topics such as administration, lesson preparation, interaction with students, personal learning networks, and continuing professional development. Okay, those 5 aspects will be very, very important for you as you take your first steps as a newly qualified teacher. Let's start with administration. Now, you may be wondering what admin has to do with TEFL, and to be honest, it has quite a bit to do with TEFL. Not admin in the sense of sitting at an office desk typing away all day, but there is definitely a lot of stuff that you will need to keep track of. Walking into a school on your first day is exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking. Okay, there's no point lying about that. Okay, you will be nervous. However, a little bit of preparation in terms of admin will help keep you organized. Sometimes when we're nervous or a little bit anxious, we find it hard to retain information, right? Or we find it hard to keep things on track. This is where admin is your friend. Let's look at an example of some of the types of admin-related things you can do to help yourself out. You can keep a teaching diary. Okay, this will be maybe your own personal notebook. It can be a file on your laptop. It doesn't matter what it is, but get into the habit of keeping your own record or your own diary. What can you put in there? Well, you can put in things like your weekly timetable. Okay, you can just write out, all of your time slots, or you can put in a link to your calendar. Okay, you can write your own to-do list. For example, do you need any particular technology for your lesson? If it's a face-to-face one, okay. Do you want to use any extra resources such as artwork? Do you want to do maybe some crafts? Do you need to get some pencils, some coloring pencils, and some colored paper? Make your to-do list. Don't assume that you will remember to do all of this, because you may not. So, help yourself out by making a to-do list and crossing things off as you work through it. It's also a really nice idea to have a reflection section. Okay, not only does it rhyme, it's very helpful. This is basically where you write your thoughts about how your lessons went on any particular day. As with every profession, you will have amazing days, you will have some less than amazing days, and getting into the habit of just writing a short analysis of your lesson can be really helpful, both to remind yourself and to reinforce what went well and what you would like to do again, but also to reflect on what didn't go so well and what you can avoid in the future, or how you can go about doing things better. That's not to say that you need to write pages and pages on every lesson, because that's just not realistic. It's too time consuming. But definitely do try to write at least a few sentences or even bullet points, about things that worked well or things that worked badly and how you could improve them. Okay, all of this will help you build your repertoire as a teacher. It's also a really good idea to write a quick summary of completed work. So if you are teaching, for example, private students, if you're working as a private tutor, you may think, okay, I will remember exactly what we did this week and I will carry on on the same topic next week. Okay, and you are convinced that you will remember. Okay, however, it is likely that next week will roll around and you'll be left racking your brains trying to remember, okay, what did we do? I vaguely remember doing this worksheet, but where did we stop? Okay, so do get into the habit of making a quick note after each class about where you got up to in your material or the topics you covered. And that will make it a lot easier for you to pick up where you left off in the next class. So that's your teaching diary. That's just stuff for yourself, okay, to help keep you on track. However, if you're working for a school, be it an online school or a physical school, chances are they will expect you to keep a teaching file. They will probably give you your file on the first day of work, and it will be up to you to maintain your records. So what type of thing might be in the file? Well, there should be a copy of a syllabus. All right. You should be able to see what you are expected to cover every week. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't know how fast to go. You don't know how slow to go. You will definitely need some form of syllabus. You will also have a register for each class. So say, for example, you have 10 different groups during the week. You will have a register for each group with all of the student names, so that you will be able to call attendance and mark off attendance. This admin is really, really important for schools, to help them keep track of what students are showing up and perhaps what students are lagging behind in terms of attendance. It can be really also very, very important in terms of fire safety. Yeah, like if there was a fire drill during your class, you would need to be able to grab your register and show whoever was in charge exactly who or how many people were in your group. So you've got to be very, very strict about keeping your register. You may also keep your lesson plans in there. Some schools want you to keep copies of your lesson plans in your file. Some schools don't. Okay, so this one kind of depends. You may need to keep lesson plans in there or not. Another thing you will probably keep in your teaching file is sample worksheets or material. It's always a nice idea to have some extra material up your sleeve just in case you need it. Okay, maybe you finish your lesson plan really early and you still have 20 minutes to go. Of course, you can't let the students leave 20 minutes early. So if you have some extra activities in your file, you can just pull them out and fill up that time. So it's just really, really important that you keep your teaching file neat and up to date. Okay, keep on top of all of that admin because your school will want to see it. If there's anything in your teaching file that you don't understand, make sure that you ask, on your first day. Get everything clear in your head, exactly what you need to complete every day and how. Okay, so that covers the admin side of things, both your personal teaching diary and your official teaching file that the school needs to see. Another thing that you will need to keep track of as a teacher is resources. So you will need to come up with some way of keeping track of all of the resources that you use. If, for example, you find a website that has really, really good teaching materials, write it down. Okay, go to your teaching diary and make a page for resources. Okay, write down that website, because even though you think you will never forget it, chances are that you will. So get into the habit of writing down every good resource that you find. Similarly, if you find something really good in a book or a magazine, maybe something you would like to use as an authentic text, okay, write it down. Write down a reference for that thing. Because, there's nothing more annoying than knowing that something good is out there and you have seen something good, but you just can't find it. Okay, so that is the type of thing that you need to be writing down. Okay, keep a list. Do not rely on memory. Another thing to bear in mind could be usage rights. So maybe you find an amazing picture in a magazine, okay, and you would love to reproduce it on a worksheet for your students. you've got to find out if you have permission for that. Okay, is there copyright? Is it open source material? Is it a Creative Commons license that anybody can use? Generally, if we're using something for educational purposes, we can almost always use anything we want, okay? But it is just something for you to look into. If you want to reproduce something on a worksheet, just make sure that you have the permission to do so. All right, so let's move on to lesson preparation, okay? Because this is what you will spend an enormous part of your life doing once you start teaching. Lesson planning always, well, at the beginning, lesson planning always takes longer than you think. And if you are doing the assignments, which I presume you are, you must be, the lesson planning assignments on level 3 and level 5, you will see that there is quite a bit involved in planning a lesson, okay? So it goes without saying that you have got to be prepared for every lesson, okay? Believe me, students can tell a mile off if you are not prepared and if you are winging it. Now, students can be forgiving of that every now and again, you know, and sometimes it's fun to go do something spontaneous with them, okay? But on the whole, you've got to try to be prepared for every lesson. This is the single most important thing you can do in terms of professionalism. Prepare your lesson plan and always have a backup plan for anything that could go wrong, okay? Usually, when we're writing a lesson plan, we have a section in that plan called Anticipated Problems and Solutions. Okay, so this is where you predict the most likely things that could go wrong in your lesson. Okay, and you think of a potential solution. For example, if you're teaching some vocabulary and there's a really difficult word to pronounce, like comfortable, you might anticipate that students are going to have difficulty with the word comfortable because they're going to look at it and they're going to read it like comfortable, okay? But we don't pronounce it comfortable, do we? So that would be an example of an anticipated problem. What could a solution be? Well, a solution could be that you model the word, you say the word 3 times for your students, and then you ask them to repeat it, okay? You ask them as a group to repeat it. You ask them in smaller groups to repeat it. You might ask some individual students to repeat it. Okay, but the idea is that you're anticipating a logical problem and you're coming up with a solution to preempt it. Now, it may be that you predict problems that don't happen, in which case, amazing. At least you had your bases covered. But yeah, it's important that this is part of your lesson planning, okay? Think of potential issues that may arise and be ready with the solution. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how long lesson planning might take. Well, when you start out, I would say a good estimation might be that a 1 hour face-to-face or online lesson might equal 2 hours of lesson preparation, okay? So in other words, you can plan on spending up to 2 hours planning every lesson. Now, it may be far shorter than that, you know? If your school provides you with a lot of material and course books and teachers' books and resources, you know, it may well take shorter than that, okay? It doesn't have to take 2 hours by any means, but be prepared to put in the time. You'll see a lot of schools advertising like 25-hour work weeks, yeah? Or they'll say things like only work 22 hours a week. What they mean there is 22 hours face-to-face, yeah? You can double that, okay, to include lesson planning time. So if it's 22 hours in the classroom, it may be 44 or even 60 hours, including lesson planning. So the bad news is that lesson planning time isn't paid. Okay, you will only be paid for the face-to-face teaching time. So factor that in. Okay, a 22-hour working week is only the 22 hours actually teaching. Okay, you can add on a whole chunk of time onto that for the lesson planning. The good news is, though, as with everything, the more you practice lesson planning and the more you do it, the faster and faster and faster you get. Okay, by the end of your first year, you'll have taught a ton of grammar, you'll have taught a ton of vocabulary, you'll have covered all of the skills like speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So chances are that you will only be spending maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour planning each lesson. Okay, but at the beginning, do be prepared to put in the work. It will all pay off down the line, I promise. As you get that experience, you can start to recycle and adapt teaching material. Yeah. So if you see something you like, maybe an article in a magazine, yeah, you may take that and turn it into something different, or you may arrange your own tasks around it, or you may just use the picture, or you may take out a sentence as a model sentence for a grammar point. Okay. You may be able to take a really boring gap fill and turn it into a really fun quiz for your students. Okay. So, with the more experience that you get, the more able you are to spot opportunities, adapt, or create your own stuff. Okay. And that is when teaching becomes really fun, in my opinion. Okay. It's the creation, the adaptation. If you are a creative person, you will have a ton of fun with that. All in all, I think when it comes to lesson planning, time management is key. Okay. Spend time at the beginning of your career really working on your lesson planning, and it will really pay off down the line. Okay. You will get faster and more efficient with experience. All right. Let's talk a little bit about interaction with students, because, as you can imagine, that is everything when it comes to teaching. I would say my first piece of advice is always remember that you are a teacher. Okay. You are not there to be their best buddies. Okay. You are not there to take the brunt of all of their frustrations. Okay. You are not there to parent them. Okay. You are a teacher. So what does that mean? Well, you can absolutely still have a great relationship with your students. You can build rapport. You can chat with them about their lives. In fact, you absolutely should in order to build that rapport. Okay. You can listen to them. You can empathize with them. But when it comes down to it, remember, you are their teacher. Okay. You are not their peer and you are not their friend. Okay. Also, it's important for you as a teacher to put aside any issues that you may be having at home and focus on teaching. Okay, like maybe you're going through something really difficult in your personal life. It goes without saying that you must not bring that into the classroom. Okay, you must not let that affect your students. I've always found that if I'm having a tough time, it's actually a relief to get into the classroom, because you can literally park any problems that are going on in real life and just switch into teacher mode and just forget about everything for a few hours. It's actually really, really nice to just be able to step out of the real world and into your classroom and just flick that switch into teacher mode. It's also quite important that you look the part. Okay, so different countries and different schools may have different dress codes. Okay, some schools may not even have a dress code and they leave it up to you. Okay, it's important that you find this out in advance. Okay, if there is any particular dress code for teachers. Mainly, I think if you can dress neatly, that is the main thing. Okay, put in that effort to have that extra bit of polish about you. Okay, dress neatly, nice shoes, iron shirt. or, clean trainers, okay, whatever it is. Make sure you do your best to look the part. That's absolutely not to say that you need to dress up super formally. You do not by any means, but yeah, look neat. Okay. The other most important thing you can do is be punctual. So if, for example, your lesson starts at 4 p.m., try to be there at least 15-20 minutes in advance. Okay. You don't want to be running in the door at 1 minute to 4. Okay, and putting down your bag and taking off your jacket while your students are waiting for you in the class. Okay, so make that effort to be there 15 to 20 minutes early, and then make sure you are ready to go for when your class starts. Okay, there will always be the odd emergency where, you do get held up or you get stuck in traffic, or, there is some sort of catastrophic event, like you forget your laptop and then have to run home halfway through your journey. Look, these things happen. And if it's a once-off, it's not the end of the world, okay? But do try to consistently be punctual. Okay. Some more advice then on interaction with students. Remember, I said before, it's important to remember that you are the teacher, okay, ultimately. So a lot of that can involve some form of laying ground rules or setting discipline expectations, okay? Students need to respect you, okay? I use the word respect here. I'm not using the word fear, okay? We absolutely do not want our students to fear us. That is the last thing on earth we want to do, but we do want them to respect us, okay? If we can gain their respect, classroom management will be much less stressful, okay? How do we gain students' respect? Well, we gain it by setting our boundaries, okay, and sticking to them consistently. So one way we can do that is in our first class, run through the rules of the classroom, okay? Create a classroom contract, yeah, to name it, yeah, to put a term on it, okay? You tell your students, or even better, get your students to tell you the rules of the classroom, yeah, because believe me, they already know them. So get the students to tell you the rules. You can write them on a piece of paper, yeah, on a poster, and then stick them up, yeah, and you have established your classroom rules. That will make it a lot easier for you as your class progresses to pull your students back and correct any behavior that contravenes your classroom rules. It's really important that you do establish rules on the very first day, okay, or in the very first class, because it's much harder to give them the rules retrospectively, okay? So lay out your expectations and your rules right from the very start and stick to them consistently. It's important that we maintain a learner-centered classroom, okay? So everything you do should be about helping the students and improving the students' learning experience, okay? It is not your time to stand up and speak for 30 minutes all about yourself and your interests. No, that is not what we want. You can absolutely tell students a little bit about what you like and what you are interested in, but make sure that you then shift the focus to them, okay? It's really, really important that you try to be as patient as you can. I would say, especially if you're teaching younger learners or teenagers, okay? There will be many times that you just want to tear out your hair and scream, but of course you can't do that, okay? So practice your deep breaths and, finding your inner zen, and yeah, cultivate your own sense of patience as much as you can. Be confident, or at least transmit confidence. I know in the beginning, you'll probably be feeling, quite nervous, but have you ever heard that saying, fake it till you make it? Well, I believe that applies perfectly to the world of TEFL. okay? No matter what's going on inside or how nervous you're feeling, try to portray that feeling of confidence to your students. I often find in the classroom that feelings are catching. So if, for example, the teacher is nervous and jittery, the students will become nervous and jittery, and it will just end up, quite a nervy environment, which is not good for learning. So do work on transmitting and portraying confidence. Again, that is something that will come with experience. Be approachable, okay? As I said, we do not want to distance ourselves from our students. We don't want our students to be afraid of us, okay? We want them to be able to come to us with any uncertainties, any doubts, etc. So yeah, work hard to build that rapport with them, okay, while always being conscious to keep your teacher-student relationship clear. Okay. Show interest in your students. I always think like one of the very best things about teaching is that you get to meet so many amazing people from all different walks of life, different ages, different nationalities, okay, different life experiences. It's such a joy to meet all of these students, okay? So be interested in them, okay? Find out about them. Ask them about their lives. Obviously, we don't want to ask any intrusive questions. Yeah, we don't want to be nosy, but we do want to show an interest, okay? Because the more we can get to know about them and their situation and their interests, the better able we'll be to tailor our classes, to suit them and to appeal to their interests and their needs. Make sure you give a lot of positive feedback. A lot of teachers can fall into the trap of only addressing errors and mistakes. Okay, we don't want that to happen. Okay, we want to acknowledge what is done well, just as much as we acknowledge what needs improvement. Try to model good communication skills. Okay, when you're explaining something, try to do it as clearly and as confidently as you can, and in as few words as possible. Okay, when you're lesson planning, this is when you will decide how you're going to explain something, and you'll be able to work on honing your explanation to be as clear and concise as possible. Always try to empathize with your students. Okay. Remember, your students, just like every other person in the world, they will have bad days, okay? And there will be days that they come to class and it's the last place they want to be. And, they may be sullen, they may be tired. Empathize with them, Acknowledge that they may not be in the best mood, okay? You might say something like, oh, has it been a tough day, Sergio? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And then move on with your lesson, okay? Let them know that you see that they may not be in the best place and you empathize with them. And hopefully just by acknowledging this and by, giving a little bit of empathy, it may take them out of their mood and, they may get involved in the class as they normally would. Okay. I would say that going back to our point about making the classroom learner-centered, do try to minimize teacher talk and listen carefully. Okay, this is not your opportunity to practice your English. You don't need to. Okay, the students need to practice. So keep your own explanations and stories and anecdotes to a minimum. Okay, and then give the floor over to them. Okay. Some final words of wisdom on interaction with students. Give encouragement and praise where it's due, okay? Acknowledge the effort, even if the result is not necessarily amazing, okay? Try really, really hard not to have favorites, because especially when you're teaching kids and teenagers, this is painfully obvious, even if you think that you're doing a good job hiding it. So you have really got to find a way to not play favorites in class. As we said before, Establish a classroom contract really early, like in the first class, and treat all students fairly and consistently. And any chance you can get to inject some humor into the classroom, please take it. Okay, you don't need to be serious, formal, stiff. Okay, have a sense of humor whenever possible. Okay. One thing that a lot of new teachers in particular are really afraid of is being asked a question that you don't know the answer to. Well, I'm here to tell you, please be honest about this. Don't try to bluff an answer because, again, it will be obvious. So if you can't answer a question, flip that situation into a positive learning experience by asking students to research and share the answers. So if a student asks you a grammar question and you have no idea, you can say to them, "Oh, Mark, that's a great question. Why don't you look it up for homework and tell me the next time what you found the answer was?" Okay. Or you can say, "Mark, that's an excellent question. Did everybody hear that question? Mark, can you ask it again?" So Mark repeats the question. And then you say, "Does anybody know the answer to this?" Okay. Maybe some of them don't. Maybe some of them do, in which case they get the opportunity to explain something. They love that. If nobody knows, you can say, "Okay, thank you for the question, Mark. I'm going to write it down in my notebook and we will talk about it in the next class." Okay. So never be afraid of not knowing an answer, and please don't bluff. Okay. Just try to turn it into a learning experience and get back to the student in the next class if necessary. It's important that you cultivate that feeling of composure and confidence. Okay, again, no matter what's going on the inside, okay, try to keep it calm, keep it cool and composed. Okay, if you are teaching online lessons, it's really important that you engage the interest of the class. Okay, we can do lots of things to make it an interactive experience, such as using breakout rooms, interactive worksheets such as teacher-made, Kahoot quizzes. Yeah, always find ways to add in extra levels of interaction. Be flexible. Yeah, it's important that we accept and embrace each situation. Okay, so just to finish up, let's talk a little bit about personal learning networks, or PLNs. All new teachers need help. Okay, this is a fact. Okay, we all need help. We all need support. See if you can find a mentor, maybe a more experienced teacher in your school that will, go that extra mile to help you out as you find your feet. Make friends with teachers at the school. Try to take up the opportunity to do any lesson observations that you can. Maybe other teachers watching your lessons or you watching other teachers' lessons. And, try to build a network on LinkedIn, for example. They have some amazing EFL groups that you can join and share ideas on. This is a really important part of continuing personal development, or CPD. As teachers, we are constantly looking to develop. Okay, we're constantly looking to the next new thing. EFL is ever evolving. So do find out if your school offers CPD sessions. Maybe they give workshops every month. Maybe they give you the opportunity to attend conferences. Yeah. Always ask in the interview if your school has any opportunities for continuing professional development, because that is what will keep you fresh. It's what will familiarize you with the latest teaching methodologies. So any opportunity you get to attend a conference, a lecture, a workshop, take it up. Okay. If your school hasn't organized anything, you can, take your own initiative and read resources related to your teaching specialization. So there are a lot of really good ELT or EFL magazines and journals out there. IA TEFL Voices, for example, or Modern English Teacher. I'll write these in the chat box later, are some amazing online journals and websites for EFL teachers. Maybe you want to take a course yourself, maybe an online course. Try to keep up to date with the latest technologies and methods. That is what will keep things fresh for you as you progress through your teaching career. Finally, just before we jump into our questions and answers, some final advice. Teaching, especially when you're starting out, can be all-consuming. Okay, between the classes and the lesson planning, it can feel like that's all you ever do. And if you have moved to a new exciting country, you may get very frustrated with this in the beginning, that you're spending so much time working, you have no time to go and do the fun stuff that you wanted to do. So do please try to maintain a balance between work and personal life. Okay, even though work, teaching can be all consuming, please try to let it not become that. Okay, block off some time at the weekends or, a couple of mornings a week to go do the stuff that you moved to that country to do. Okay. If you find that you're struggling with anything, like with your work-life balance or even with culture shock or whatever, do remember to get professional help if you need it. Okay, do not suffer in silence. That never works out well, especially if you've moved to a new country and you're far away from your support network. I would say that in general, what you put in is what you get out, just like everything in life. So a focus on professionalism will help you enjoy a fulfilling career path. Okay. Again, it can be tough at the beginning. Okay, but as you get that experience, everything will become much, much easier. All right. So they are my words of advice for you. It is now time for Q&A. All right. So if you have any questions about anything I've talked about over the last half hour, please pop your questions in the chat box and I will try to answer as many as I can. Okay, we have 25 minutes for your lovely, lovely questions. So while you're thinking of your questions and typing them in, I'm going to go back over the comments and see if I've missed anything and also see where you all are, because that's the really fun thing. So hi, Carol. Oh, Jamaica. Oh, how amazing, Carol. So Nori and Valentina and Anna. Oh, I see lots of familiar names. We have Saju and Joe. All right. South Africa, London. Oh, not too far away. Brittany. Oh, God. Oh, is there an echo? Hopefully not. Okay, I hope, Sayedul, that you managed to figure out the echo. So hello, Ursula. How are you doing? Okay, we have lots of questions for each other there. So hello, Adam. Okay. So let's see. Do we have any questions? Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. So, hello, Retno. What do you want to know about Indonesia? Ooh. Perhaps another user has asked you a question about Indonesia, Retno. I thought it was a question for me. I don't think it is. Okay, sorry, Retno. Okay, so hello, Elena. Could you please share one more time recommendations on the professional journals you've mentioned? Oh, yes, Elena. Thank you for reminding me. This is what I wanted to pop in. So, Elena, there are a lot of really, really good journals for you to check out. One of the most long-standing ones and useful ones is TEFL Voices. Okay, this is a journal that anybody can contribute to. Yeah, anyone in the world of EFL can contribute to, and they may even publish what you send to them. Okay, so you can find out in TEFL Voices all of the latest methods, methodologies, technology. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend checking out that. Another really, really good one that teachers all over the world contribute to is Modern English Teacher. Okay, again, this is a free online journal. If you go along to their website, you will see all of the editions there. Another really good one I like is ELT Professional. Okay, again, they publish tons of articles about all of the latest methodologies in the world of EFL. So please do check out those. They can be really, really useful for continuing professional development. Okay, because you may read an article and it may not apply to your situation currently, but later on you might think, okay, I remember what I read and now I can apply it. So remember we said before about keeping a list of all of your resources, like if you find a good website with teaching materials that you like, the same goes for teaching websites. Okay, if you find a really good blog or journal that you enjoy, please write it down somewhere. Write it in your teaching diary. Okay, and whenever you have time, go back and check out all of the latest ones. Okay, another thing you can do that it's just come to mind, you can invest in some teaching books, okay, in some EFL books. Especially for new teachers, they can be very, very useful. So if you see, for example, I'm putting it in the chat box, any books by a writer called Jeremy Harmer. Okay, he has written a lot of teaching guides, like how to teach English, how to teach vocabulary, okay, how to teach grammar. Anything by Jeremy Harmer would be amazing for new teachers. Okay, another author for you to look out for is a guy called Scott Thornbury. Okay, again, he has written a lot of books both for new and experienced teachers. Okay, explaining how to teach vocabulary or how to teach pronunciation, or encouraging you to explore different aspects of teaching. So, if you start teaching and you get the idea that this is going to be something long-term for you, okay, consider investing in some good methodology books. Elena Penny Orr. Oh, yes, love her. She's amazing. I especially love her books on teaching listening. I just think they're so, so useful. All right, so thank you, Elena. Great question. Okay. So let's see. So I see here some questions about rules. So hello, kiddo. Apologies for my lateness. No problem. Where can I find the classroom rules? Oh, well, kiddo, there are no official classroom rules. It depends on every teacher to come up with rules for their own classes. Okay, so it's not like there is an official list out there. There isn't. But, using our common sense, what do you think some of the typical classroom rules would be? Okay, I want you all to type your ideas into the chat box. Okay, so what do you imagine some classroom rules would be? Once I see your suggestions, I'll then give you some of my own. But you know what? I bet you can come up with them yourself. Okay, just think. think back to your own time as a student, okay? What were the rules for your classroom? Or what do you think they should have been? Okay. Let's see. Okay. So we have things like be a good listener. Yes, Ursula, love it. Respect each other. Absolutely. Fundamental. Be polite. Yes. Melissa, one person talking at a time. Perfect. That is always a good one. So punctuality, one at a time. Perfect, kiddo. Listen, it's okay to make mistakes. I love this one. Yes. Raise your hand, for sure. So you see, guys, they are the classroom rules. You know all of the rules already, and your students will know all of the rules. Okay, but it's just a matter of getting them on paper. Okay, having an actual poster with the rules on them is super helpful, because then if one student is just shouting out a turn continuously, okay, all you need to do is like point to your poster and say, oh, remember, and you tap the rule. Okay, and that will be enough to, indicate to your student that they need to just pull it back a bit. Okay. So yeah, absolutely. Punctual, complete homework, take turns, use camera if you're teaching online. Absolutely. That's it. You've got them. You've got all the rules. So I would say the one about respecting each other, that encompasses a lot, doesn't it? That's probably the most important ones, especially if you're teaching your young learners and your teenagers. Okay. Because basically it all comes down to having some form of respect for the teacher and each other, and maybe the classroom. Yeah. All right. So thank you. Great rules. I would say try not to overload your students with rules either. Like, I would probably not do more than 7 or 8 to begin with. Okay. But yeah, I like it. As I said, try to get your students to tell you the rules instead of you telling them. Like, you just write them down. All right. Thank you. Good question. All right. So let's see. What other questions did we have? Okay. So, hello, Sinead. How are you doing? Off topic, if you haven't been able to complete the course within 6 months, haven't used up your hours, can you extend? Yes, you can extend, Sinead. Please contact student support and they will give you all of the information you need. So just open a ticket to student support. All right, thank you. Okay, so hello, Guy, that red guy. As stated, different schools and cultures will have different standards of professionalism and what they expect from a teacher. Prior research into the culture you are going to attend would be best. Oh, Guy, absolutely. Okay, we can never overstate the importance of cultural awareness. And that, yeah, countries are different. Okay, so yeah, we have to try and leave our own cultural norms behind us, okay, and try to learn as much as we can about the country we're going to, preferably in advance, so that we can go in, educated as to how it will be. Okay, so hello, Shiva. Should English teachers learn language of the country in which they teach? Shiva, I would say so. Okay, I think it would be a terribly wasted opportunity if we didn't try to learn the language of the country we're visiting. It will make our own day-to-day lives so much easier if we can pick up some of the local language. That said, in the classroom, there should be only English spoken, okay? We're not there to use our students as our teachers. Okay, so yeah, just avoid using the local language in the classroom. But yeah, absolutely, I would advise learning languages any day of the week. Okay. You know, it's all part of your experience, and it will make your own day-to-day life easier, help you make friends from that country, etc. All right, thank you, Shiva. Desiree, will this video be available to rewatch? Yes, absolutely. So today is Saturday, so by Tuesday, yeah, it should be on our YouTube channel. Okay, they usually just take 3 or 4 days to be posted. Okay, so hello, Kaiten. How do you deal with the school that wants you to set up the English program from scratch? Oh, wow. Okay. I think for a new teacher, that would be quite difficult. All right. And I would be quite reluctant to take on that responsibility if I were a new teacher. However, if they really want you to do it, you have just got to find out as much information from them as you can about what that English program needs to achieve. Okay, so things like how many students will be involved in it, how many classes, yeah, what levels will they be, what do they need to achieve from the English program? Okay, is it something for an academic institution like a university or a college or further education and training? Or is it more for people to come along and develop their conversation skills? Okay, make sure you get all of the information about who the students would be and why they are learning before you start trying to put anything together. Okay, but yeah, that's a big ask for a new teacher. Not to say impossible, but you will definitely need a lot of information to guide you on that. Okay. Okay, Candice, I'm an ECD teacher getting back into teaching again after having a baby. Ah, congratulations. Yeah, I have a 2-year-old. It's something else. It's hard work sometimes. So respect, Candice. Best of luck with it. And classroom rules, respect each other. Yeah, fundamental. Okay, thank you. So hello, Lucidi. Besides LinkedIn, where can I find other personal learning networks? Good question, Lucidi. I know LinkedIn is certainly my main one. Absolutely. The other one that I would definitely recommend, Lucidi, is TEFL. Remember I told you before TEFL Voices was a really good magazine? Well, the organization itself is called TEFL, and that is an international association for TEFL teachers. Okay. Now, I believe they have a subscription, but I could be wrong on that. It could be free, but I have a feeling they have a subscription now. I'm sure I remember paying one. But that is like probably the biggest and the most well-respected one that there is. Okay, so the great thing about TEFL is that they have different organizations within TEFL. So like they have the pronunciation interest group, they have the teaching online interest group. So, not only do you get to connect with teachers from all over the world, but you can also, explore your specific interests within it. Okay, so yeah, as well as LinkedIn, check out TEFL. All right, thank you. So AT, in terms of being flexible, could you explain further, please? Oh yeah, flexibility is everything, AT. So imagine, for example, you go into class with your lesson plan, which you will have spent lots of time on. But if you go into class and your students tell you that maybe they have, let's think of an example. Imagine your students tell you that they are going on a work trip to the UK next month. Yeah. Or if they're school students, maybe they're going on a school trip to the UK next month or next week. Okay. And they really want to learn ways of buying train tickets, for example, because they know they will need to do this on their trip. You then have a decision to make. Okay. Will you carry on with your planned lesson, or will you step aside from that for a moment and address their actual needs and interests? which is talking about buying train tickets. So hopefully you would see that opportunity for some spontaneous but very useful and necessary learning and go with it. Okay, you will have that flexibility to say, okay, let's leave this for a moment and let's talk about what you all want to talk about. Okay, so that would be an example of being flexible. Okay, adapting to the needs of the students. Okay, I would say that, anytime that our students are genuinely interested in something else and ask a question about something else that is relevant to the whole group, go with it. Okay, that doesn't mean that you need to spend the entire lesson on that something else, but be willing to step aside from your plan for 5 minutes and give them what they want and need. Okay, and once you've done that, you can get back to what you had planned to do. All right. Thank you, AT. Okay. So, Retno, could you be contacted if we have problems on the course we're taking? Well, Retno, if you look on your online course, you will see that you have an option to open a ticket. Okay, so a ticket is basically your way of communicating with us in tutor support. Okay, I am on the tutor support team and 3 or 4 of my wonderful colleagues are on tutor support. So any question you have, open a ticket, send it to us, and we will respond to you. Okay, so it may be me, it may be one of my colleagues, but you will definitely get a response. Okay, and yeah, that goes to all of you. Any questions you have about assignments or any questions you have about course content, please send a ticket to tutor support. Okay, we will be delighted to help. If you have any questions about extensions, or doing any additional courses, please send your ticket to student support. Okay, because they deal with all of the admin stuff. All right, so thank you, Retno. Good question. Okay. So let's see. Do we have any other questions? Okay. I see the Indonesia. I see where the Indonesia question came from. I understand now. I hadn't read from the beginning. Okay. All right. So Valentina, I see you had a question here. Have you also some websites to recommend? Well, in terms of the continuing professional development, yeah, I have written the journals I recommend in the chat box. Okay, so you will see them all there. All right, thank you, Valentina. Let's see, do we have anything else? Okay, so hello, Elena. As for learning networks, I can recommend EF Teach Online. Oh, okay, very good. They have a teaching corner where a teacher can get some professional advice and sharing teaching experience. Oh, amazing. Elena, is that only for teachers who work for EF or can anybody join? Let us know in the comments. It's reminded me of teaching forums. So as you all know that there are forums for pretty much everything nowadays. Okay. So it is well worth putting in a search into Google for EFL teaching forums. Okay. They are places that, you can go with any issues that you're having and, your fellow teachers will be able to advise and help you with that. I'm thinking of one particular one. I just want to double check that it still exists because I haven't visited in a while. So let me check that it's still up and running and then I will give it to you if it is. Okay, let's see. Okay, yes, it does exist. Good. So a really good forum that I know I used a lot when I was starting out, and then when I wanted to help newer teachers, was www.eslcafe.com. Okay, I've put it into your chat box. So eslcafe.com has really good international jobs forums. It also has country-specific forums. It has some forums that are just for new teachers that can ask questions, and then experienced teachers can come along and answer. But yeah, check it out. It's a really, I found it a really useful resource when I started teaching. Okay, so yeah, ESL Cafe. They also have a jobs board, which is very, very useful. Just to get that extra input into what positions are available. Okay, yes, thank you. That reminded me of the jobs forums. It's a great point. Okay, Caton, should we have a lawyer look over contracts? I mean, if you want, okay, I don't see why not. I've never found it necessary, but I guess, if you have access to a lawyer, why not? Okay. So Elena, it's for everyone. Oh, so the EF, let's see, what was the name again? EF Teach Online. Ah, amazing. Okay, so everybody, you can head along to EF Teach Online and get some advice from more experienced teachers. Ah, thank you, Elena. Really good. That's really useful. And Antonella, how long after your online lesson does it reflect on the YouTube channel? So Antonella, it should be there by Tuesday. Okay, it usually just takes us a few days. And that said, all of our webinars, like from the last 2 years at least, are on our YouTube channel. So head along to YouTube and type in the TEFL Academy and you will find all of the webinars there. Okay, it's an amazing database of information. So yeah, do head along and check it out. All right. So everybody, it looks like our time is up. Okay, we are 3 minutes over time. So before I go, I want to ask you a favor. If you have a moment, could you complete our end of webinar survey? The QR code is on the screen. I will also write in the direct link in the chat box so you can get there quicker. Remember, we talked about continuing professional development. Well, we all do it. Okay, we are always looking for ways to improve. If you have any suggestions for other topics, we would be more than happy to hear from you. And so please take a moment to complete our survey if you can. Oops, I see I misspelled survey. My goodness. Let me try that again. I put an extra E in there. I think my fingers were moving too fast for my brain. Okay, now take 2. There we go. All right. So thank you all so much for coming along today. It's been a pleasure to spend an hour with you. And next Saturday, there will be another one. Okay, another webinar, another topic. And hopefully we will see you all again soon. All right, everybody, enjoy your weekend. Bye.